Today's Q&A is brought to you by Brilliant. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Explained Weekly Q&A. I'm Alex.
I'm Molly.
And we're going to talk about...
Pew, 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 pew.
I got the giggles. We're filming this Q&A a little early. It's Wednesday instead of Thursday because we're going out of town tomorrow. We'll talk about why in a little bit, but they almost got us.
They almost got us.
They
One
tried.
day off. We were leaving tomorrow, and the news came out today.
I put rumors out and said, oh, we're going out of town on Wednesday, and Lucasfilm dropped some news about Skeleton Crew. Got the release date. I've already put out a video about the article. It was on people.com. Basically some first general details about the show. But I've talked about it. So what did you think about it?
First of all, I'm so glad that they just went ahead and gave us the release date without a teaser or anything. Like maybe they'll play the teaser at D23. But December 3rd, exciting to have Star Wars during the holidays again in December.
I still think that it's a Life Day centric story. We
shall see. I've been excited for the show ever since we found out what it was gonna be about, and then we saw a teaser at Celebration London, and I thought it looked great. Sounded cool. It is geared a little bit more towards a younger audience. The main characters, aside from Jude Law, are like younger kids.
I don't know. Like John Watts said, there's kids in it, but it's not a kids show. I think it'll feel along the same lines as the first season of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I would say the later seasons of that show started to lean far more adult.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I wouldn't describe Stranger Things as a kid's show, and so I don't understand why some people are already calling this a kid's show. But anyways,
but to your point, I don't think it's going to be like as mature as Stranger Things, but I don't think it's going to be a kid's show.
Yeah, something specific that I liked from the teaser footage was showing these kids' families at their normal office 9-to-5 jobs in the galaxy. Like it's just interesting to me to see more of the boots on the ground kind of normal folk in Star Wars, kind of similar to what we got in Andor. I just think it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Like the parents and the kids go off on a crazy adventure, and the parents are like, oh my god, where are they?
Right, which is very like Amblin. You watch E.T. as a kid and you really connect to Elliot and what he's going through, and then when you get a little older, you realize everything that the mom is going through, like going through a divorce and her kids are being chased by the government, and like you start to connect with her more. So I do think that it'll be fun to see the Star Wars suburban life. Like there was a shot of a neighborhood I can remember from the Celebration footage,
and the bikes.
I really like the bikes.
They got little hover bikes, which is very E.T. too.
And they look like bicycle parts, I guess. It doesn't look like a speeder bike. It looks like an E.T. bike that flies on its own.
Yeah. And in the article, it talks about the fact that they were real props on these rails, and like the kids had so much fun filming on the bikes. It just sounds like fun, and I don't want to say low stakes, but not as intense feeling as Andor or Acolyte, Yeah,
it's I think it'll be nice to break up the grimness of those series with like just a lighthearted adventure.
Yes.
I mean, like E.T. has stakes, The Goonies has stakes, but it's not galactic stakes. It's just like we're kids and we're lost and we want to get home.
Right.
Like I think that'll be fun.
I'm not prepared to see all the like Andor fanatics crapping on this show for it being boring and for kids. Like, come on, it's Star Wars, it's fun. It's gonna be exciting. I think
just Star Wars fandom. It's so big that it gets tribal very quickly, and like the different show fans feel like they have to go after the other ones, and like I'm just gonna watch this for what it is, and hopefully I really like it and connect to it,
and we'll get Andor season 2 hopefully a couple months later.
Yeah, I mean that's like the only thing we know about 2025. I think is that Andor's coming out. We do have D23 around the corner, so maybe they'll announce something else, or maybe they're waiting for Celebration to announce some stuff, but
I think they'll announce another animated show at Celebration.
I would not be surprised by that. They've pretty consistently kept animated stuff going ever since Star Wars Rebels, so that wouldn't surprise me at all. Anyway, what did we get up to this weekend?
We have been watching a ton of the Olympics, which has been really fun.
Yeah, that's basically it.
It's been fun. It's, it's workout motivation. It's nice to see Simone Biles, her big triumphant return to the Olympics after bowing out in Tokyo. So it's been exciting.
We saw the BMX medals this morning. That was sick.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I don't know how they do that stuff.
Yeah, it's just fun to watch a bunch of sports that I don't get to watch a lot of otherwise.
I get so nervous and I gasp a lot when we watch the dangerous stuff.
You gasp like he's falling off of his bike. You're like, no, he's supposed to do that.
Yeah.
He's flipping it around his whole body.
It's scary. We
can also talk about Deadpool, because last week we made some guesses, and you put me as thinking it was mid. I feel like I immediately regretted not giving you more options. I thought it was fun, enjoyable, but yeah, I didn't love it as much as a lot of people loved it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was funny.
You liked it more than I did.
A little more, I would say. Like, it doesn't feel like a movie that I would ever watch again.
That's kind of how I felt about it, yeah.
But, like, I kind of feel that way about a lot of MCU movies, I guess.
Also fair. I mean, that's been kind of our relationship with the MCU as of late.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what I think of when people say to us that, like, I'm kind of burnt out on Star Wars. I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm not, but I'm a little burnt out on the MCU.
Yeah.
But then we have friends who are very much not burnt out on the MCU.
It felt like a good, like, transitional kind of movie where they needed to put something out really fun and funny and entertaining while they're figuring out what to do about the Kang situation. So this made sense to me.
Right. And we are going to talk about San Diego Comic-Con some more. But yeah, I did like the kind of love letter to the 20th Century Fox films, the X-Men, and just in case people haven't seen it, the other things that they included in that movie were a lot of fun.
A lot of fun cameos. Yeah, I was a lot more invested in the X-Men side of the story rather than Deadpool. Deadpool's funny. His character just, like,
he's X-Men adjacent.
He is X-Men adjacent, I guess. So, I don't know. I got more excited by all the X-Men related stuff than his particular story and, like, the future of the X-Men in the MCU.
Yeah. Still curious how they're going to do all that, but that's for a different day. Before we get into Comic-Con stuff, Ooby Dooby Banooby did ask about Star Wars Outlaws, which, yeah, we can finally talk about that. Earlier this week, the embargo lifted, so a couple interviews and my video breaking down the game. That's already come out, but you played it too, so I wanted to let you talk about it a little bit. Ooby Dooby asks, Mr. Banooby asks, Mr. Banooby specifically asked what our favorite, like, smaller...
Please, that's his father. Call him Ooby.
Call him Ooby Dooby. Is Dooby his middle name? I don't know. They asked specifically what our favorite smaller detail was in the game, and also wanted to know if diegetic music was in there, which I can tell you, yes. It was something I was very excited about. There's a jukebox in the cantinas that I saw, and you can play various Star Wars songs just like you could in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I didn't notice any repeats. I think it's all new music, which I love. I love that Star Wars just keeps on adding to their repertoire of in-universe stuff.
Yeah, I bet that's a lot of fun to come up with. Favorite, like, little stuff?
Yeah, favorite smaller detail that you noticed? It was honestly just, it went by so fast. We got to play for 4 hours, but there's, like, a lot of pressure to see as much as you can. You know what? I'll shout out Ruthless Night Sister has some really fun videos. I'm like, she went into this with a plan.
Right.
And is making a lot of fun stuff about, like, all the animals that you can pet or the cosmetics and shopping. So check out Ruthless Night Sister and some of her videos because they're very fun.
I guess since we were sharing a computer, they did, like, halfway through the event, they did offer me my own computer, but I at that point, I kind of was like invested in our game, so I didn't want to like start over
Right.
or start from a different point. So we were sharing a computer, so it was kind of like we were taking turns. I mean, of course, being able to pet animals is fun. You could pet the big
Bantha
were
thing?
they banthas?
There was a bantha on Kajimi, I think.
Like winter banthas.
Uh-huh.
You could pet them on Kajimi, and they looked big and cuddly.
There's that. There's like a giraffe hippo kind of thing on Tashara. There's also like a little weasel meerkat kind of thing you can pet. And of course you can pet Nyx.
And you can give them treats.
Yeah. So
that's part of the petting dynamic, I think.
I figured that would be your answer, that you could pet the animals, because we were both excited about that. And like, I always love that Twitter account that does video games, and it's like, can you pet the dog?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, can you pet the animals in this game? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And you can pet a lot of animals in Outlaws, it looks like.
Yeah.
For mine, I'll say, this is something I mentioned in my video, but you can bet on father racing, which I was like, oh, that's neat and fun. Not usually something I would do in a video game. I tend to not get too distracted by the side missions. But on a mission, I found a data pad that said, like, hey, I've got a hot tip from a friend. He knows that the next father that's going to win the race is X.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a little hint. And I was like, okay, well, I want to test this out. So I went and tested that out. I won't spoil whether or not it worked. I won't spoil what the tip is, because I honestly wonder if it's random.
Yeah.
But I was pleased with the result. I thought it was fun that they kind of encourage you to go check out this other stuff.
There were a lot of the little data pads kind of laying around that you could find that had little hints or tidbits that you could kind of keep locked away for whenever they would come up. So yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. There was just so much to look at on Tashara in the little marketplace area. Tons of Easter eggs, and just like I wanted to just go up and have a conversation with like everyone there.
The way that you could find different rumors and stuff, like you can just go up and listen to two bar patrons talking, and you can hear that, oh, there's something over in this direction I could go check out.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff was a lot of fun. Yeah, those are, I guess, my smaller details that I enjoyed.
The race. I liked the race.
The speeder race?
Yeah, that you could do. It's like outside on Tashara, kind of away from the city life. And you just kind of come across a dude and you can race him, and that was cool.
There's seemingly a lot to do. We only got to play on Tashara and a little of Kajimi. There seemed like a lot of different things you could unlock, but it also, my thing with some open world games is that it quickly feels overwhelming. Like, God, I'm not going to do all this, but it didn't feel overwhelming. The map, when you pull it up, isn't just crowded with stuff to do. So I feel like they struck a good balance there.
And a lot of people have talked about being excited for just the ability to transition from like ship on ground to ship in space and then ship to the other planet.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
There's definitely like disguised loading screens, but it feels good and seamless.
It does.
So
it does feel
Good.
seamless.
I'll link to my video that's more about like the gameplay and everything, but as for small details, that's what I really enjoyed about Outlaws. So we're going to shift into Comic-Con talk here, which as we do that, I'll shout out Mosh Isley again, because they just had their Mosh Isley in San Diego. They're coming to Atlanta, our hometown, for Dragon Con. We're very excited about it, and we're going. It's a punk, pop, emo music night that's Star Wars themed, so people will be dressed up and having fun. If you go to Dragon Con, I promise you will love it.
I'm working on my punk, emo, Dark Ray costume. I kind of did it. What year was that?
Anaheim.
And at Celebration Anaheim, but it was rushed. I'm gonna do a better job this time.
But as for Comic-Con, I did think it was funny. So last week we made some guesses about what might be announced.
Oh,
we were mostly wrong, but the Vernestra novel,
nailed it.
We collectively nailed. I thought that was very funny. A Vernestra book about her time as a Wayseeker, written by Justina Ireland. I'm shocked we got all three of those things.
Yeah.
That was just an off-the-cuff guess.
I am so excited for that.
So our first question is building off of that, and Noodles and Ice Phoenix ask what we think about the Acolyte tie-in books, and wonder if it means anything for the renewal of the Acolyte itself. I'll start with that because I don't think this makes a renewal any more or less likely. You know, sometimes if things continue to be explored in publishing, it's because they have no plans to move that story further. I tend to think that's more about characters. And when you look at these books, it's about Yord and Jecki, who their story will not be moving forward in the second season if that happens.
But they have a huge fan base.
Right.
So I think that was a cool idea to do a book for them.
Like, I don't think that they were waiting to announce these stories after, like, let's wait and see how the Acolyte goes, and then we'll announce these books. I think these have been in the works for a while.
Yeah. And
so they wanted to announce them off the heels of the Acolyte. But yeah, Yord and Jecki, that's a safe story to tell. The Vernestra story just makes sense to me because it is going to be a prequel. It's about a pre-existing character, and we can bridge that gap from the High Republic books to the Acolyte. So that's a story beforehand. Maybe it could hint to her relationship with the stranger and whatever went down there, but I don't think they're going to get into specifics with that.
I don't either. I definitely don't think this book is going to be about exploring that relationship. If they do that, they'll wait for a season 2. But yeah, I don't think the fact that these books exist means that a season 2 is definitely happening. But come on. Come on.
Yeah, I don't think it means anything either way. Yeah. I don't think it means, yes, this is for sure going to mean a renewal. It also doesn't mean, oh, they're abandoning it.
Right.
I just think that these were already planned.
Yeah. And, you know, there might be some book readers out there that didn't watch The Acolyte that are going to see Vernestra's name and immediately be interested in the book. So I think that was a smart move to make it about her and to have Justina write it.
Yeah, having Justina write it, I'm so happy about that. Just makes sense. And yeah, for the Jecki and Yord YA book, I'm happy about that too. It's surprising that they're so far out. I kind of wish that they had kept it a little closer to the Acolyte just to keep that going.
It reminds me a little bit of the Rogue One novelization, because I loved Rogue One, but I didn't super connect with Jyn Erso as much until I read the novelization. And there's just so much more in that book that kind of goes into what she's thinking about, what she's been through. And I think that'll be nice to get some context for Yord and Jecki.
Agreed. I mean, they were characters I liked, especially Yord, but I wished that we had more time with them. So, yep, still in our hearts.
We don't want to open them.
No. Funny that you bring up the Rogue One novelization because it was written by Alexander Freed, who also, not at Comic-Con, but had some books announced, or one book. Ormappa and Sean Grogan ask how we're feeling about the Reign of the Empire trilogy. So Mask of Fear is the first novel in that trilogy. It's going to be written by Alexander Freed, and then Rebecca Rowanhorse is writing the second one, and then Fran Wilde will be writing the third. And they're going to be a year apart in their release, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I think, like, Alexander Freed wrote the Alphabet Squadron trilogy. I think there was a year-ish gap between 1 and 2, and then not much of a gap between 2 and 3. But either way, I'm glad that they have, like, this planned out and mapped out and plenty of time for those stories to be written.
Yeah. These books sound interesting to me. I think I started Alphabet Squadron. I don't think I finished it. I don't remember exactly what it was about the book, why I didn't finish it.
Well, we talked about how, I mean, it's a long book, and the way that Alexander Freed wrote them, the chapters are so long that the chapters have chapters.
Yeah.
Like, there are parts to every chapter.
Yeah. But, so, maybe not my specific wheelhouse as far as books go, but the fact that there will be characters like Mon Mothma and Bail Organa that will be explored a little bit more in this time period, it's intriguing to me.
I will say that if it weren't for the authors, specifically Alexander Freed, but I also really liked what Rebecca Rowanhorse did with Resistance Reborn. But I love the Alphabet Squadron books. So they are right up my alley. If he weren't involved and he weren't writing the very first one, I'd probably be a little less excited, just because it is, as the trilogy suggests, it's the reign of the Empire era. And we've had a lot of stories set during that time, including like current stories or ones that just wrapped up with The Bad Batch and or season 2 is coming. And I've liked all these stories, but I'm like, okay, I would like to explore some other lesser known areas a little bit.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, I think it'll be cool to see a little bit more of the Senate and what that transition looks like. We might see some more familiar faces in there. And I think I read somewhere that there would be some mention of Padme and how we miss her.
Yeah, Bail and Mon Mothma kind of reeling that the first book is set like right after the fall of the Republic. So yeah, the senators, especially the delegation of 2000, or
ooh, maybe Chuchi will be in it.
Chuchi, I bet Chuchi will be in it.
Fighting for clone rights.
Bring back the Chooch. So I think we're going to explore the delegation of 2000, and we know that some of those senators don't have happy endings. I think that this will be a great political thriller book. I think I will enjoy it a lot. It's one of those that I'm like, it's not my first pick for what era we do next again, but with Alexander Freed, I'm excited about that.
Is Jar Jar going to be there?
I bet he will be.
We haven't had any of his story in a long time.
Yeah, like I would love to see Alexander Freed's take on sad Jar Jar. Like that. I mean, that's got to be a challenge.
Yeah.
I also want to point out Rebecca Rowan Horse's Resistance Reborn. She did such a great job of pulling a lot of different story elements, different characters into her book and kind of wrapping things up. She's doing book 2, but I feel like she'll do a great job of balancing like Bail and Saw and Mothma and all these different characters that we have met around town.
Is that the one with Wedge?
Yeah.
I did read that one.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It was right before The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were like, yay, Wedge is going to be in it. And then he was in it for like a second. We're going to take a quick break from answering questions about Star Wars to tell you how you can best learn about other topics using Brilliant. Brilliant is where you can learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming, and more. They help you learn new skills from the ground up. Lessons are filled with hands-on problem solving that let you play with concepts, which has been proven to be 6 times more effective than simply watching lecture videos. All of Brilliant's lessons are created by award-winning teachers, researchers, and professionals from MIT, Caltech, Microsoft, Google, and more. They help you build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, giving you actual experience on specific topics. Brilliant helps you build your knowledge in minutes every day with fun lessons you can do whenever you have time. If you've ever wanted to learn to understand social media trends better, Brilliant recently launched new content all about data. You can learn to make better decisions by studying real data sets from sources like X and Spotify. As a YouTuber, gaining a better understanding of data is always helpful. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/Star Wars Explained or click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off of an annual premium subscription. We're also going to talk about some non-Star Wars San Diego Comic-Con stuff, but we're going to find a way to tie it into Star Wars still. Because Spider-Man of Earth 1218 asks how we would feel about recasting major actors in Star Wars as different characters, like Robert Downey Jr. is doing as Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel about it. I don't think I would be happy about it.
I wouldn't be happy about it either. And, I mean, our reaction to the RDJ thing was like, I understand it. Like, I guess he will be a version of Tony Stark. I think he'll have a different name, I assume. But, you know, the whole multiverse thing, I'm sure having it be Robert Downey Jr. is on purpose.
Right.
But yeah, I was just like...
There's something about the variants there that, yeah, when I heard the news, I was like, oh, I guess it's a variant that is like both Tony Stark and Doctor Doom. I don't know.
Like, they said he would be Victor Von Doom, I think is his real name. Mm-hmm. Still, like, what are you going to do? Your name is Von Doom, destined to be evil, just like Darth Maul. Like, what are you going to do, man? Yeah, It reminded me, honestly, of seeing the Rise of Skywalker trailer for the first time, hearing the Emperor's cackle, and like I got really excited, and then I went, wait a minute. Because I'm like, I didn't like the Emperor coming back in Dark Empire and Star Wars Legends, and I was like, I hope they can pull this off. And in my opinion, I was like, not so much. I just don't like bringing the Emperor back.
Yeah, again, like, we don't normally cover MCU stuff, and I don't know the universe very well, but having the Russo brothers and Robert Downey Jr. coming back together again, and then having RDJ playing a different character, it feels like they're flailing a little bit. Like, wait, we've got some really good stuff, we promise.
It feels like, let's just go back to what worked before.
Here's RDJ, look at him. He's back as someone else, and it feels a little like, look over here, give us your money, please.
And like, I love RDJ. I thought he was great in Iron Man, but it kind of feels like, let's bring back Hugh Jackman, even though he had a great ending. And I don't think this is quite the same situation where...
But he was a different variant.
Right, and that's fine. That did not bug me watching Deadpool and Wolverine, but I think that this is a different situation. I'm sure Robert Downey Jr. will be fun in the role, but it just seems... It's reminding me a lot of The Rise of Skywalker of like... We have 2 years to make this movie, talking about episode 9, and we have to write it really fast, and like, what do we do? Let's bring the Emperor back, and like, Snoke is dead, what do we, It does feel a little like a scramble.
I think, to me, this feels like something that would absolutely work in comic books. Like, if the same looking character were to pop up as a different character in a comic book, you would just be like, oh, okay, and then keep reading. But for big movies and like big projects like this, it's a lot to ask of fans, I think. It feels like a little bit too much to ask for casual fans to be okay with a huge actor that played a huge part in the MCU up to now to come back as a different dude.
Yeah. And again, just he had what I thought it was a great ending. I really liked everything that the Russo brothers have done in the MCU. But ever since Endgame, I've been, like, I guess, flailing myself. And I've kept up with the shows and the movies. I think I've seen them all. And I'm like, like I said earlier, I'm a little bit burnt out. Mm-hmm. I still want to see Secret Wars and Doomsday. But I also don't know like anything about the Fantastic Four. I want to see that movie. It sounds good. I don't know much about Doctor Doom. Mm-hmm. So I got to talk with our friend Ashton about how he's feeling about all this.
Oh yeah, the Fantastic Four stuff actually does sound really exciting. And I know Doom is like very integral to that story. But just the fact that it's shot in 4:3... and it looks very old school, I'm just excited for that.
A lot of actors in there that I like. Yeah, it just seems like it's doing something a little bit different, and I'm interested in that. I brought up our friend Ashton because Elo Asti asks if we've booked Ashton for Rings of Power Season 2 yet. So that was another big thing that we were looking forward to, is the Rings of Power trailer. And back when Season 1 was coming out, we were doing a show called Explain It to Me, where our friend Ashton, who knows a lot about Lord of the Rings, came on and would walk us through stuff. Like, I know enough about Lord of the Rings, but he's got the Silmarillion memorized, basically. Mm-hmm. So he really knows his stuff, and it's helpful to have him kind of explain some of the stuff I didn't understand.
Yeah.
We're actually going to his bachelor party this weekend, so he's kind of busy right now. He's getting ready to get married.
The show comes out DragonCon weekend,
right,
too.
Also so that.
It's also coming out, like, during our kind of vacation downtime that we're taking between Acolyte and Skeleton Crew.
So I don't think we're going to do anything on a weekly basis. I would like to do something about it. Because I like having Ashton explain things to me. Yeah. He also knows a lot about Marvel, so that's why I was like, I need to talk to him about He's a huge Fantastic Four fan. So I want to hear what he has to say about RDJ and the movie and everything.
Maybe you and Ashton could go on Casterly Talk, because I know they're covering Rings of Power.
That'd be fun. I could do that. But maybe we'll do something at the end of the season. I don't know. I wouldn't mind talking about Rings of Power at least a little bit.
Yeah, we could do like a wrap-up, like kind of podcasty type episode, just talking about the whole season.
It's funny, like Ashton doesn't keep up with the online stuff or the news as much as I do. I don't even think he's seen the new trailer yet, but I remember when images of when Tom Bombadil came out, and I was like, oh my god, Ashton, Tom Bombadil's going to be it. And he's like, what? And then I was like, look, it's Círdan the shipwright. And he's like, what? And like, I only know things about, I was like, he's got the beard. And I only know that Círdan is one of the only elves to have a beard because Ashton told me. He's like, he's so old, he has a beard.
Whoa.
Thanks, Ashton. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.